What happens when you laugh off boundaries as harmless fun, right up until the day your partner walks out before sunrise? I thought my "it's nothing" would smooth everything over, but that night it became the last thing he ever believed from me. I'm Ivadne Hartley, though everyone calls me Ev. At 32, I work as a marketing coordinator at Fletcher & Associates, and I've always prided myself on being the fun one, the one who keeps things light, who doesn't take life too seriously. My husband Caleb, 36 and a high school history teacher, has always been my opposite: methodical, quiet, reserved. I used to think we balanced each other out perfectly, until the night I shared a bed with my coworker Jasper Fielding. It started innocently enough, or at least that's what I kept telling myself. Our marketing team had been working late on the Henderson campaign for weeks, pulling 12-hour days and surviving on coffee and takeout. Jasper, our creative director, had this way of making even the most stressful deadlines feel manageable with his easy laugh and constant stream of jokes. "Come on, Ev," he'd say, leaning over my cubicle wall with that trademark grin. "Life's too short to stress about spreadsheets." The night everything changed was a Friday in October. We'd finally wrapped the campaign presentation, and Jasper suggested we celebrate at his apartment with a few drinks. Nothing unusual there. Our team often hung out after big projects. What I didn't expect was for everyone else to bail at the last minute. "Looks like it's just us," Jasper said, opening his third beer as we sat on his couch reviewing our victory. "Hope Caleb doesn't mind you staying out late." I rolled my eyes. "Caleb's probably already asleep with a book. He won't even notice." That should have been my first warning sign: how easily I dismissed my husband's feelings, even hypothetically. By midnight, I was too drunk to drive home safely. Jasper offered his couch, but when I woke up around 3 a.m. with a crick in my neck, he was standing there in his pajamas. "You look miserable," he whispered. "Just crash in the bed. I'll take the couch." "Don't be ridiculous," I said, my judgment clouded by alcohol and exhaustion. "We're both adults. It's just sleeping." I texted Caleb, "Working late, staying at Jasper's. Home tomorrow." What I didn't mention was that Jasper had climbed into bed beside me, maintaining what he called respectful distance. What I didn't mention was how he'd playfully swatted my arm when I made a joke about his snoring. What I didn't mention was how natural it felt, lying there in the dark with someone who understood my sense of humor. When I got home Saturday morning, Caleb was in the kitchen making coffee. His movements were precise, controlled. The way he got when he was upset but trying not to show it. "How was your night?" he asked without looking up. "Fine, just work stuff." I grabbed a mug, acting casual. "Jasper's got this tiny couch, so I ended up crashing in his bed. Nothing happened, obviously." Caleb's hand paused on the coffee pot. "You shared a bed with him?" "God, Caleb, relax. It's just sleep. We're not teenagers." His jaw tightened. "I'm not comfortable with that, Ev." "Well, I'm not comfortable with you trying to control who I sleep next to when it's completely innocent." The words came out sharper than I intended, but I was tired and hungover, and his disapproval felt suffocating. "I'm not trying to control you. I'm telling you how I feel. And I'm telling you that you're overreacting." He set down his mug and looked at me directly for the first time that morning. "Am I?" Something in his tone made me defensive. "Yes, you are. Jasper's my friend and colleague. Nothing inappropriate happened. You're acting like I cheated on you." "Did you?" The question hung in the air like smoke. I felt my face flush with indignation. "How dare you even ask me that? I told you nothing happened." "You told me you shared a bed with another man and I should relax about it." "Because you should. God, when did you become so insecure?" That word, insecure, hit him like a slap. I watched his expression close off completely, and for a moment I felt a flicker of regret. But then my pride kicked in, and instead of apologizing, I doubled down. "I'm going to shower," I announced. "When I come down, I hope you've gotten over this jealousy thing." I didn't see him pack his overnight bag. I didn't see him gather his lesson plans and laptop. When I came downstairs an hour later, the house was empty except for a note on the kitchen counter. I need some space to think. Staying at my parents' for the weekend. We'll talk when I'm ready. My first instinct was anger. How dramatic, I thought. How typical of Caleb to blow everything out of proportion. I called my sister Lynn, expecting sympathy. "You shared a bed with Jasper Fielding," she said after I explained the situation. "Ev, what were you thinking?" "I was thinking like a rational adult. It was just sleeping." "Come on. You know how that looks." "I know how it looks to people with dirty minds," I snapped. I thought my own sister would trust me. "It's not about trust, Ev. It's about respect. How would you feel if Caleb shared a bed with some female colleague?" I hung up on her. That afternoon, still fuming about everyone's overreaction, I did something I'd regret for months to come. I posted on Instagram a photo of Jasper and me from the night before, both laughing at something on his laptop. The caption read, "When your work husband makes deadline stress disappear. Some people need to relax. It's just sleep." Work family, Josh are drama-free, as adult friendships. I tagged Jasper, who immediately liked and shared it with a comment, "Best work wife ever." Within hours, the post had dozens of likes and comments. Most were supportive, friends laughing at the drama and praising our mature friendship. But a few made me uncomfortable. Caleb's sister Lydia commented, "Yikes, poor Caleb." His mother Eleonora simply wrote, "Oh, honey." But it was my own mother's comment that sealed my fate. "Live your life, sweetheart. Don't let anyone dim your light." By Sunday night, the post had been shared beyond my immediate circle. Someone had screenshot it and posted it to a local gossip forum with the title, "Local wife brags about sharing bed with coworker." The comments there were brutal. Imagine being married to this woman. That poor husband. She's literally bragging about cheating. "It's just sleep" is the new, "it's just the tip." I tried to delete the original post, but it was too late. Screenshots were everywhere. My phone buzzed with notifications, some supportive, others horrified. The story was spreading like wildfire through our social circles. When Caleb finally came home Sunday night, I was waiting in the living room, ready to explain how everything had been blown out of proportion. He walked past me without a word, went upstairs, and locked the bedroom door. Monday morning brought new humiliations. As I walked into the office, conversation stopped. Colleagues who usually greeted me with warm smiles now offered awkward nods or avoided eye contact altogether. "Rough weekend?" asked Miranda from accounting, her tone carefully neutral. "People are making a big deal out of nothing," I replied, forcing a laugh. "You know how social media is." But I could feel their eyes on me as I made my way to my desk. The post had reached our professional circle, and everyone had opinions. Jasper appeared at my cubicle around 10, coffee in hand, and that familiar easy grin on his face. "Well, we're famous," he said, seemingly unbothered by the attention. "My phone's been buzzing all weekend." "This is insane," I muttered. "People are acting like we murdered someone." "Hey, their problem, not ours. We know the truth." He perched on the edge of my desk, a gesture that would have seemed innocent a week ago, but now felt loaded. "You okay, though? You look stressed." Caleb's being dramatic about the whole thing. He's barely spoken to me since Saturday. Jasper's expression grew serious. "Want me to talk to him? Man to man? Explain that nothing happened?" The offer was tempting, but something told me that would only make things worse. "No, he'll come around. He always does." But Caleb didn't come around. That evening, he emerged from his study, a room that had become his fortress over the past 2 days, and sat across from me at the dinner table. "We need to talk," he said. Finally. "Look, I know the post was maybe not the best idea, but you humiliated me publicly." His words were quiet, controlled, but they hit like a physical blow. "That wasn't my intention." "What was your intention, Ev?" When you posted a photo bragging about sharing a bed with another man, what exactly were you trying to accomplish? I felt my defenses rise. I was trying to show people that adults can have platonic friendships without everyone making it weird. By mocking my feelings about it, I wasn't mocking. Some people need to relax, while tagging the man you shared a bed with. His voice remained level, but I could see the hurt in his eyes. You turned my pain into a punchline. You're being overly sensitive. Am I? Because my phone has been ringing all weekend. My colleagues, my students' parents, my family. Everyone's seen your post. Everyone knows my wife thinks I'm uptight for having boundaries. The word boundaries made me bristle. Boundaries or control issues? Something shifted in his expression then. The hurt was still there, but it was hardening into something else. I see, he said quietly. So wanting my wife not to share beds with other men is controlling. When it's completely innocent, yes. He nodded slowly, as if filing away this information. Good to know where you stand. That night, he slept in the guest room. I told myself he was being childish, that he'd get over it. But when I woke up Tuesday morning, I found him in his study, working on his laptop with the intensity I'd never seen before. What are you doing? I asked. Lesson plans, he said without looking up. But I could see the screen over his shoulder. It wasn't lesson plans. It was some kind of document with dates and times, but he minimized it before I could read more. Caleb, this silent treatment is getting ridiculous. I'm not giving you the silent treatment. I'm thinking. About what? About whether I know my wife as well as I thought I did. His words sent a chill through me, but I pushed down the fear. Caleb was methodical about everything, his teaching, his hobbies, his emotions. He just needed time to process. Meanwhile, the social media storm continued to rage. The original post had been shared hundreds of times across different platforms. Local Facebook groups were dissecting every detail. Someone had even created a meme using my photo with the caption, "It's just sleep, bro." My mother called that afternoon, her voice tight with concern. "Honey, maybe you should take the post down." "I already tried, Mom. It's too late. People have screenshots." "Well, maybe you could post an apology. Explain that you didn't mean anything by it." "Apologize for what? Having a friend?" "Apologize for hurting Caleb." The suggestion stung because it came from her, the woman who'd encouraged me to live my life just days before. "Since when are you Team Caleb?" "Since I realized this might actually be serious, Ev. He's a good man. Don't lose him over pride." But pride was all I had left. Pride and the stubborn belief that everyone else was wrong. That evening, Jasper texted me, "Drinks after work? You look like you could use a friend." I knew I should say no. I knew it would only add fuel to the fire. But I was angry and hurt and tired of being treated like the villain in my own life. "Sure," I texted back. "I could use some normal conversation." We went to Murphy's, a bar across town where we were unlikely to run into anyone from our circles. Jasper bought the first round and listened sympathetically as I vented about the whole situation. "People are so judgmental," he said, shaking his head, like they've never had a close friendship with someone of the opposite sex. "Exactly. And Caleb's acting like I betrayed him somehow." "Maybe he's just insecure about our connection," Jasper suggested. "Some guys can't handle their wives having male friends." The word connection should have been a red flag, but I was too caught up in having someone validate my feelings. "We do have a good connection," I agreed. "You get my sense of humor in a way he never has." Jasper smiled and moved a little closer. "That's because we're similar people, Ev. We both know how to have fun." I felt a warm flush of vindication. This was what I'd been missing at home, someone who appreciated my personality instead of trying to change it. We stayed until closing time, talking and laughing like the old days. When Jasper offered to drive me home, I accepted gratefully. "Thanks for tonight," I said as we pulled into my driveway. "I really needed this." "Any time," he replied, reaching over to squeeze my hand. That's what friends are for. The gesture lasted a moment too long, his thumb brushing across my knuckles. I should have pulled away immediately, but the touch felt warm and comforting after days of coldness from Caleb. When I finally extracted my hand and went inside, Caleb was waiting in the living room, still dressed despite the late hour. "Where were you?" he asked. "Out with Jasper, having a normal conversation with someone who doesn't treat me like a criminal." His expression didn't change, but I saw him glance at his phone, checking the time. "It's almost midnight." So you were out until midnight with the man you shared a bed with, while your husband sits at home wondering if his marriage is falling apart. Maybe if you stopped being so dramatic, I wouldn't need to seek normal human interaction elsewhere. He stared at me for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "I see," he said again, in that same quiet tone from the night before. "Thank you for clarifying." He went upstairs without another word, leaving me alone in the living room, suddenly uncertain whether I'd won or lost that exchange. Wednesday brought a new level of scrutiny. Someone had recognized me at Murphy's the night before and posted about it on the same gossip forum where my original post was still being dissected. Update: bed-sharing wife spotted out late with same coworker while husband stays home. This woman has no shame. The post included a blurry photo of Jasper and me at the bar, heads close together in conversation. In the photo, his hand appeared to be on mine, though you couldn't see the actual contact. I stared at the image on my phone screen, feeling sick. Out of context, it looked intimate, romantic even. My phone started ringing immediately. Lynn's name flashed on the screen. "Ev, what the hell are you doing?" "Having drinks with a friend. Since when is that a crime?" "Since you're married and that friend is the same guy you shared a bed with. Are you trying to destroy your marriage?" "My marriage was fine until everyone decided to make a federal case out of nothing." "Nothing? Ev, look at this photo. Look at how you two are sitting. Tell me honestly, if you saw Caleb like this with another woman, how would you feel?" I ended the call without answering because I knew exactly how I'd feel. I'd feel betrayed, but admitting that would mean admitting I was wrong, and I wasn't ready to do that. At work, the atmosphere had shifted from awkward to hostile. Miranda from accounting walked past my desk without acknowledgement. Tom from sales, who usually stopped by for our morning coffee chat, was nowhere to be seen. Around lunch, our HR director, Patricia Williams, appeared at my cubicle. "Ev, could I see you in my office?" My stomach dropped. Patricia was in her 50s, professional but fair. I'd never been called to HR for anything more serious than benefits questions. "Is this about the social media posts?" I asked as soon as she closed the door. "Among other things, we've received several calls from clients who've seen the various posts and photos circulating online. They're concerned about our company's professional image. But this is my personal life. It has nothing to do with my work performance. When you tag company employees and reference work relationships in viral posts, it becomes company business. And when clients start questioning our judgment," she trailed off, letting the implication hang. "So, what are you saying?" "I'm saying you need to be very careful about how you handle this situation going forward. Any further incidents that reflect poorly on the company could result in disciplinary action." I left her office feeling shaky and cornered. This was spiraling beyond anything I'd anticipated. That afternoon, Caleb's mother, Eleonora, called. She'd always been kind to me, treating me like the daughter she'd never had. "Honey, I'm worried about you and Caleb." "He's being stubborn about this whole thing, Mrs. Hartley." "Is he? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like a husband who's been publicly humiliated by his wife." The words stung because they came from someone I respected. "I never meant to humiliate him." "I know you didn't, sweetheart, but intent and impact aren't always the same thing. That post, it was hurtful, Ev, and now these photos from the bar. We were just talking. I believe you, but appearances matter, especially when trust has been shaken. So what should I do? Apologize, publicly, Show Caleb and everyone else that your marriage matters more than your pride. After she hung up, I sat in my car in the office parking lot, considering her advice. A public apology would mean admitting I was wrong. It would mean giving ammunition to everyone who'd been criticizing me. Instead, I opened Instagram and posted a new photo, a throwback of Jasper and me from a company retreat 6 months ago, both of us laughing at something off camera. Throwing it back to simpler times when people didn't read malicious intent into every friendship, TBT, work family, LA haters gonna hate, adult friendships, no regrets. The post was my way of doubling down, of showing everyone that I wouldn't be shamed into hiding my friendship with Jasper. But even as I hit share, I felt a sick feeling in my stomach. The response was immediate and brutal. Comments poured in from friends, family, and strangers. Lydia commented within minutes. "This is disgusting. Have some respect for your husband." My mother, who'd been supportive just days before, wrote, "Honey, please think about what you're doing." But it was Caleb's comment that stopped me cold. Noted. Just that one word. Noted. When I got home that evening, I found Caleb in his study again, but this time the door was locked. "Caleb," I knocked softly. "Can we talk?" "I'm busy." "Busy with what?" "It's 7 p.m. on a Wednesday." "Paperwork." Through the door I could hear the sound of a printer running, pages being shuffled, the click of a scanner. What kind of paperwork required scanning? "Caleb, this is ridiculous. We live in the same house. We can't avoid each other forever." The door opened, and he stood there looking at me with an expression I'd never seen before. Cold, distant, like he was looking at a stranger. "You're right, we should talk." He gestured for me to come in, but when I tried to see what he'd been working on, he'd already closed his laptop and cleared his desk. "I've been thinking about what you said, about boundaries being control issues." "Caleb." "No, you were right. I was being controlling by expecting my wife to consider my feelings before sharing beds with other men. I was being insecure by feeling hurt when she mocked those feelings publicly. I was being dramatic by taking issue with late-night drinks and intimate photos." His tone was eerily calm, almost robotic. "You're being sarcastic." "Am I?" "You've made your position very clear, Ev. You don't think you did anything wrong. You think I'm overreacting. You think our marriage should accommodate your friendship with Jasper regardless of how it makes me feel." "That's not... So I'm adjusting my expectations accordingly." "What does that mean?" "It means I'm no longer going to waste energy being upset about things you consider normal behavior between married people and their friends." Something about his tone terrified me more than his anger had. "Caleb, I think we should see a counselor. Talk through this with a neutral third party." "I don't think that's necessary. You've been very clear about your boundaries. I'm simply respecting them." That night he slept in the guest room again, but I could hear him moving around until very late, the printer running intermittently, the soft sound of papers being organized. When I woke up Thursday morning, I found a manila envelope on the kitchen counter with my name on it. Inside were printed copies of every social media post I'd made about Jasper over the past 6 months. Photos from office parties where we stood close together. Comments where I'd called him my work husband. Screenshots of our text conversations that I'd forgotten he had access to through our shared phone plan. At the bottom of the stack was a note in Caleb's careful handwriting. "For your records, I thought you might want copies for yourself." My hands shook as I flipped through the pages. Taken individually, each post and photo seemed innocent enough, but compiled together, they told a story I didn't recognize, the story of a woman who was emotionally involved with someone other than her husband. I called Caleb immediately, but it went straight to voicemail. "What is this supposed to prove?" I said after the beep. "That I have a friend? That I post about my life? Call me back, Caleb. This is insane." But he didn't call back. And when I tried to find him at school during his lunch break, the secretary informed me that Mr. Hartley had requested no personal visits during work hours. I was being shut out of my own husband's life, and for the first time since this whole mess started, I felt genuinely afraid. By Friday, the situation had reached a fever pitch. The local gossip forum had dedicated an entire thread to my situation, with hundreds of comments dissecting every aspect of my marriage and friendship with Jasper. Someone had even created a poll. Is Ivadne Hartley cheating on her husband? 67% voted yes. I tried to ignore it, but the attention was affecting every aspect of my life. At the grocery store, I caught people whispering and pointing. At the gas station, the clerk gave me a look of barely concealed disgust. I was becoming a local pariah. Jasper, meanwhile, seemed to be enjoying the notoriety. We're like celebrities, he joked as we grabbed lunch at a restaurant across town. Maybe we should start charging for autographs. This isn't funny, Jasper. My marriage is falling apart. Hey, that's not on us. If Caleb can't handle you having a male friend, that's his problem. But what if he's right? What if we've crossed some lines without realizing it? Jasper reached across the table and took my hand, his thumb tracing circles on my palm. Ev, look at me. We're friends. Good friends. There's nothing wrong with that. His touch sent a warm flutter through my chest, and I realized with sudden clarity that there was something wrong with that. I was married, and my friend's touch shouldn't make me feel anything other than platonic affection. I pulled my hand away. Maybe we should cool it for a while, until things settle down. Or, Jasper said, leaning closer, maybe we should stop letting other people dictate our friendship. That afternoon, he texted me photos from a company happy hour I'd skipped. The team was at our usual bar, laughing and having fun without me. I felt a sharp pang of exclusion. Missing you here, his text read. It's not the same without my work wife. Before I could think better of it, I responded, on my way. I told myself I was just reclaiming my social life, refusing to be driven into hiding by gossip and judgment. But deep down, I knew I was making another mistake. The happy hour crowd welcomed me with a mix of curiosity and support. A few newer employees seemed oblivious to the drama, treating me normally, but I could feel the weight of scrutiny from others. Brave of you to show up, said Kelly from design, after everything that's been posted online. I'm not going to hide because people have dirty minds, I replied, accepting a drink from Jasper. But don't you think maybe you should consider how your husband feels? Asked Marcus from accounting. I mean, if my wife was posting about sharing beds with other guys, your wife probably trusts you enough not to make innocent friendships into something sordid. The conversation grew heated quickly. Half the group seemed to support me, while the other half clearly thought I was in the wrong. Jasper stayed close, his arm occasionally brushing mine as he defended our friendship. People are just jealous, he declared loudly. Jealous that we have the kind of connection most people never find. His words sent another flutter through my chest, even as alarm bells rang in my head. Connection. There was that word again. By the end of the night, I was drunk and defiant. When Jasper suggested we take a selfie together, I agreed enthusiastically. To friendship, I announced as he snapped the photo, his arm around my waist, both of us grinning. I posted it immediately with the caption, surrounded by real friends tonight. Some people get it, some people don't. Friendship goals, Andrew, no apologies. Andrew, live your truth. The post exploded within hours. This time, even some of my previously supportive friends turned against me. Ev, what are you doing? Commented my college roommate Sarah. This is painful to watch. Girl, stop, wrote my cousin Jennifer. You're embarrassing yourself. But it was my sister Lynn's comment that cut deepest. I can't watch this anymore. Call me when you're ready to be honest with yourself. When I stumbled home that night, Caleb was waiting in the living room, laptop open, printer humming in the background. Good evening, he said without looking up from his screen. Are you going to lecture me now? No, I'm done lecturing. Good, because I'm tired of being treated like a criminal for having friends. I can see that. His calm response deflated my drunken anger. I'd been expecting a fight, prepared for accusations and demands. His indifference was somehow worse. "Caleb, what are you working on? You've been on that laptop every night this week." "Just organizing some files." "What files?" "Personal records, documentation, that sort of thing." A chill ran down my spine. "Documentation of what?" He finally looked at me, his expression unreadable. "Everything, Ev. I'm documenting everything." "What does that mean?" "It means I'm being methodical, the way I always am when I'm preparing for something important." "Preparing for what?" "For whatever comes next." That weekend, things reached a breaking point. Caleb's family had planned a barbecue at his parents' house, and despite everything, I was still expected to attend. The atmosphere was glacial from the moment we arrived. Richard, Caleb's father, barely acknowledged me. Eleanora tried to maintain normalcy, but her smiles were strained. And Lydia, Caleb's younger sister, made no effort to hide her contempt. "So, Ev," she said as we stood around the grill, "how's your work, husband?" "Lydia," Eleanora warned. "What? I'm just asking about her friend, the one she shares beds with and posts about constantly." "That's enough," Caleb said quietly. "Is it? Because I've been watching my brother turn into a ghost while his wife parades around town with another man. When is enough actually enough?" "Lydia, stop," I said, my voice shaking. "You don't understand the situation. I understand that you humiliated my brother publicly. I understand that instead of apologizing, you've doubled down and made it worse. And I understand that you're either completely oblivious to how this looks, or you just don't care." "I care about my husband." "Do you? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you care more about your friendship with Jasper than your marriage to Caleb." The words hit like a physical blow, because somewhere deep down, I was beginning to suspect she might be right. "That's not true." "Prove it," she challenged. "Choose, right here, right now, your marriage or your work husband." The entire family was staring at me, waiting for my answer. Caleb stood perfectly still, his expression neutral, but I could see the tension in his shoulders. "I shouldn't have to choose between my husband and my friend." "And there's your answer," Lydia said, turning away in disgust. The barbecue ended early, with Caleb and me driving home in complete silence. When we got to the house, he went straight to his study and locked the door. That night, I heard the printer running until nearly dawn. Monday morning brought a new humiliation. I arrived at work to find Patricia Williams waiting by my desk with a security guard. "Ev, we need to talk, now." In her office, she slid a folder across the desk. Inside were printouts of all my social media posts from the past week, including the selfie with Jasper from Friday night. "This stops now," she said firmly. "We've received complaints from 3 major clients about your online behavior. They're threatening to pull their accounts if we don't take action." "You're firing me?" "I'm giving you a choice. You can take a 2-week unpaid suspension and agree to social media training, or you can resign. Either way, all posts referencing this company or its employees must be removed immediately." I chose the suspension, but the humiliation was complete. As I cleaned out my desk, I could feel my colleagues watching. Some looked sympathetic, but most seemed relieved that the drama was finally being addressed. Jasper appeared as I was packing my personal items. "This is insane," he said. "They can't punish you for your personal life." Apparently they can. "Want to grab lunch? Talk about next steps?" "No," I said firmly. "I think we need to take a break from hanging out, at least until this all dies down." His expression shifted, the easy charm replaced by something harder. "So you're abandoning our friendship because of pressure from other people?" "I'm trying to save my marriage." "What if your marriage isn't worth saving?" The question hung in the air between us. Part of me wanted to explore what he meant, but a larger part, the part that still loved my husband, recoiled. "It is worth saving," I said quietly. "I need to go home." When I got there, Caleb was waiting with another manila envelope. "What's this one?" I asked wearily. "Open it." Inside were copies of our joint financial statements, credit card bills, and bank records. Every charge at Murphy's Bar was highlighted. Every late dinner with Jasper was circled. Our shared phone bills showed detailed text logs between Jasper and me, hundreds of messages over the past 6 months. Why are you showing me this? Because I wanted you to see what I see. The pattern, the progression, the way our marriage became secondary to your friendship with him. I stared at the papers, seeing my behavior laid out in stark financial and digital detail. The evidence was damning. Caleb, I know how this looks, but it doesn't matter how it looks anymore, Ev. It only matters what it is. What is? The end of our marriage. The words hit me like ice water. You don't mean that. I've been documenting everything for the past 2 weeks. Every post, every photo, every late night, every lie. I have a complete record of how you chose another man over your husband, and then mocked me publicly when I objected. I never chose him over you, didn't you? When I asked you not to share beds with him, you did it anyway. When I told you the posts hurt me, you made more posts. When I asked for respect, you went out drinking with him until midnight. At every turn, you chose him. I felt tears starting, but Caleb's expression remained impassive. I'm meeting with a lawyer tomorrow, he continued. I wanted you to know so you could arrange your own representation. A lawyer? Caleb, we can work through this. We can go to counseling, we can… I'm done, Ev. I'm done being humiliated. I'm done being disrespected. I'm done watching my wife fall in love with another man and pretend it's just friendship. I'm not in love with him. Aren't you? The question forced me to confront something I'd been avoiding. Was I in love with Jasper? The flutter I felt when he touched me. The way I sought his validation. The excitement I felt when he texted. What was that if not the beginning of love? I don't know, I whispered. Thank you for being honest. Finally. That evening, I called my mother, desperate for support. Mom, Caleb wants a divorce. Oh, honey. Her voice was heavy with sadness. I was afraid this might happen. You have to help me. Talk to him. Tell him I'm sorry. Are you sorry? Yes. I think so. I'm sorry he's hurt. I'm sorry everything got so out of hand. But are you sorry for what you did? Or just sorry that there are consequences? I couldn't answer because I wasn't sure I knew the difference anymore. Ev, I love you, but you've made some terrible choices. You humiliated that man publicly, and when he tried to tell you how he felt, you humiliated him again. I don't know if sorry is enough anymore. That night, I lay awake in our bed, now just my bed, staring at the ceiling. For the first time since this all started, I tried to see the situation from Caleb's perspective. How would I have felt if he'd shared a bed with a female colleague? Furious. How would I have reacted if he'd then posted about it online, mocking my concerns? I would have been devastated. What if he'd continued going out with her while I sat home alone? I would have felt betrayed and abandoned. The realization hit me like a physical blow. I had betrayed him. Maybe not sexually, but emotionally. I had prioritized another man's attention over my husband's feelings. I had chosen validation from Jasper over respect for Caleb, and then I had mocked him publicly for objecting. I reached for my phone to call him, to apologize, to beg for forgiveness. But then I remembered his words. I'm done. Some damage couldn't be undone. Some trust, once broken, couldn't be repaired. I had lost my husband, and it was entirely my own fault. The divorce proceedings moved with the same methodical precision that characterized everything Caleb did. His lawyer, a sharp woman named Margaret Chen, presented a case that was both devastating and unassailable. Every social media post was entered as evidence. Every photo with Jasper was catalogued and dated. The financial records showing our increasing distance were compiled into charts and graphs. Even text messages between Jasper and me were included. Messages I'd forgotten existed. Messages that revealed the gradual intimacy that had developed between us. Your Honor, Margaret said during our final hearing, Mrs. Hartley has consistently prioritized her relationship with Mr. Fielding over her marriage to my client. When Mr. Hartley expressed his concerns about appropriate boundaries, she not only dismissed those concerns, but mocked them publicly on social media. The evidence shows a pattern of emotional infidelity and deliberate humiliation. My own lawyer, a kind but overwhelmed public defender, did his best to argue that I'd made mistakes, but that the marriage could be saved with counseling. Mrs. Hartley recognizes that her actions were hurtful, he said. She's willing to undergo therapy and make whatever changes necessary to repair the relationship. But when the judge asked me directly if I was still in contact with Jasper, I had to admit the truth. He's texted me a few times since my suspension from work, just to check on me. And have you responded? I hesitated too long before answering. Yes, Your Honor, but only as friends. Margaret immediately produced copies of those text messages. In them, Jasper had written things like, "You deserve better than someone who tries to control you," and "Maybe this is the universe telling you something." My responses weren't much better. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I'd met you first, and thanks for being the one person who understands me. Reading those messages aloud in court was mortifying. They revealed feelings I'd been hiding even from myself. The judge's decision was swift and unequivocal. Based on the evidence presented, I find that this marriage has broken down irretrievably due to Mrs. Hartley's emotional infidelity and public humiliation of Mr. Hartley. The divorce is granted. As we left the courthouse, I tried one last time to talk to Caleb. "I know I messed up," I said, catching his arm in the parking lot. "But did our entire marriage mean so little to you that you could just throw it away?" He stopped and looked at me with those same cold, distant eyes I'd been seeing for weeks. "Ev, I didn't throw our marriage away. You did. The night you shared a bed with another man and then told me to relax about it. Every choice after that was just you deciding that your feelings mattered more than mine. I loved you, Caleb. I still love you." "No, you don't. You love the idea of me. You love having a husband who provides stability while you seek excitement elsewhere. But you don't love me enough to respect me. And you never did." "That's not true. It is true. And the saddest part is that if you'd just apologized, really apologized, after that first night we might have worked through it. But you doubled down. You made it worse. You chose your pride over our marriage, every single time." He was right, and we both knew it. "What happens now?" I asked. "Now you get to find out if Jasper was worth it." As it turned out, he wasn't. When I called Jasper after the divorce was finalized, hoping for comfort or maybe something more, he was suddenly unavailable. "I think we should probably keep our distance for a while," he said. "You know, let things cool down. This whole situation has gotten pretty messy." "Messy? You were the one encouraging me to stand up for our friendship." "Yeah, but I didn't think you'd actually leave your husband over it. That's intense, Ev." The irony was devastating. I'd lost my marriage defending a friendship that evaporated the moment it became inconvenient for him. 3 months later, I was living in a small apartment across town, working at a new marketing firm where nobody knew my story. I deleted all my social media accounts and started over with a private Instagram that had 12 followers. Sometimes I drove past our old house, Caleb's house now, and saw him working in the garden or grading papers on the front porch. He looked peaceful, content, like a weight had been lifted from his shoulders. I wanted to hate him for moving on so easily, but I couldn't. He'd done exactly what he said he would do, documented everything, presented the facts, and let the consequences speak for themselves. The local gossip forums had moved on to other scandals, but occasionally someone would reference my story as a cautionary tale. "Remember the 'it's just sleep' lady," they'd write. Whatever happened to her? What happened to me was justice. Quiet, methodical, lawful justice. I'd thought I was the protagonist of my own story, the misunderstood wife fighting for her right to have friendships. But I was actually the antagonist in my husband's story, the person who betrayed his trust, mocked his pain, and chose another man over her marriage. The worst part wasn't losing Caleb, though that hurt more than I'd expected. The worst part was realizing that everyone else had seen the truth from the beginning. My sister, his family, our friends, even strangers on the internet, they'd all recognized what I'd refused to admit. I hadn't been defending friendship. I'd been defending infidelity. I hadn't been standing up for my rights. I'd been trampling on his. I hadn't been the victim of an uptight husband. I'd been the perpetrator of emotional abuse. The phrase, "it's just sleep," had become my signature, my defiant rallying cry. But in the end, it became evidence of my betrayal, proof that I'd minimized and mocked my husband's legitimate concerns about our marriage. Those 3 words cost me everything: my marriage, my job, my reputation, and my self-respect. Sometimes late at night, I wonder what would have happened if I'd made different choices, if I'd respected Caleb's boundaries from the beginning, if I'd apologized instead of doubling down, if I'd chosen my marriage over my pride. But there's no point in wondering. Some mistakes can't be undone. Some trust, once broken, can't be repaired. Some words, once spoken, can't be taken back. "Relax, it's just sleep," were the last words my husband believed from me. Everything after that was just the sound of a marriage dying, one post at a time. Caleb was right about one thing. I got exactly what I chose. I chose Jasper over him, validation over respect, pride over love. And in the end, I got exactly what those choices were worth. Nothing.